Hello teacher and hello everyone. My name is Chhum and I'm here to present about to say about the accessibility of research including their credibility. Here is the content and the main keyword of statistic is accessibility and credibility. And the first point is accessibility question put in context. Like what tend to happen when we hear someone analyzing a case by looking back at the way you and another particularly to argument. You encounter in the first few chapters. You will find that people commonly reacted in the following way. If they agree with the person is getting at the conclusion, they will say, yes, I agree with that. Without considering the detail of the argument. And if they disagree with the conclusion, they say, I do not agree with that, and perhaps say something against the conclusion, either simply deny it or rejecting one of the claim giving as a reason, or perhaps introducing some new reason which they take to tell and get the conclusion. And next point, the different kind of claim. We need to know that people can make rather different kind of claim when actually in your case. Some claim present fact, evidence, and data. Another give partial explanation. Yet another recommend that we should take a certain course of action. To name some important one, considering in the book or clarify claim which are different kind have to be evaluated in different ways. So it is important for you to be able to recognize what sort of claim is being made. And to the next point 3, another point, the acceptability of claim. The question of acceptability are often about credibility to which we shall return shortly. However, the judgment value and definition may be accepted or rejected without credibility being an issue. So again, the credibility might not be issued until we begin some general question on acceptability that lead into consideration about credibility. And another thing to remember that whether its claim is acceptable may depend on first clarifying what it means. But we have already dealt with the issue with the previous chapter. Move on to the next point. How certain a claim to be. Sometimes in expressing a claim, we use language such as certain that I can't prove it, but I believe that, or the fake are, or accept that, or saw that, extra. And this similar language indicated both where our you come from and how sure we are of them and how strongly we are committed to them. To another point, does the context to the claim influence acceptability? Imagine a detective listening collection on a list of her investigation said, I think the butler did it. And it may be perfectly legitimate to think loud the way on the basic relatively little evidence in such situation. And it would be clear from the context that it was informing guess rather than a proven fact. And as such, it could be perfectly acceptable to all concerned as a basic of their further inquiry. And if the same detective make the same claim at the bachelor trial, whether the claim was acceptable, it would depend on the whether it was based on sufficiently convincing evidence. So whether a claim is acceptable might depend on the context in which it is made. To another point, how it's certain that does it require researcher to decide? Sometimes research which are giving conclusion requires specialist knowledge or expertise to decide whether that are acceptable or not. For example, for example, in Great Britain, about 200,000 people die each year from heart disease, while about 3,500 die from cancer. Heavily smoking approximately double one chance of dying from heart disease and increase the chance of dying of lung cancer by a factor about 10. And more people will conclude that smoking is more likely to cause lung cancer disease than heart disease. And indeed, both in Britain and elsewhere, government campaign against smoking have been likely based on this assumption, but it is false. If one takes to account the greater frequency of heart disease, then for every smoker who brings lung cancer on himself, there will be more than two who die of cell-induced uh, coronary illness. Clearly, this argument have many ways depend on the verse to sentence true, then the moderator will not have this specially knowledge. When such expertise is required, it may be difficult for or impossible for you to judge the strength of arguments. The next point is it widely known or believed? A reason which is present to support or conclusion is widely known or believed. Someone might begin an argument with the claim that since the earth is fully spherical, in normal context, it would be pedantic to raise question about the acceptability of the claim. So in everything the argument, we should simply accept the reason as true. Of course, there might be especially scientific context in which we try to challenge the claim as being accurate or simulating the purpose in the hand. But for normal purpose, it cannot seriously be doubted. To take another example, it said it is morally wrong to commit murder. So there are no argument about it, and there are no need especially to prove it. So this is acceptable in more context. How another point is how well does it fit with our belief? Sometimes the reason you are considered fit well with another belief you hold, and sometimes it does not. For example, someone began an argument about global warming with the claim that clear evidence that sea level rising during the past 15 years. So it fit well with everything else you know and believe, so you have no reason to challenge it. And however, someone might said begin their reasoning about that theory of evolution by saying that accept it what is written in the book or Genesis about God creating the world in 7 days. And you might feel there is no scope for further discussion because the view is so remote from your own. So some you believe might fit well with another thing you believe and might therefore be plausible and easy to believe it, or it might not fit well and therefore seem likely given your another belief. Another point is it from credible source. Sometimes we have a good reason to accept or reject a claim because of this source from which we learn it. And this is so important that we shall devote the rest of the chapter to the discussing the different consideration with supply. And we introduce the question simply as one of the questions you need to ask when deciding whether a claim. Also, in the particular reason present is the cause of arguing a case is acceptable or not. To another point, to summarize, thinking map or judging acceptability. And the thinking map had the question, how certain is claimed to be that the context of the claim influencing a disability that it required expertise or research to decide it, or it is widely known or believed. How well does it fit with another belief? And the last question, it is from another credible source. And the last question is, or the think map is very important because it's not most of what we learn is we learn from another like teacher, expert, parents, friend, television, or social media, textbook, and many another source. And the question is, which of these can we believe? And we will discuss how to answer the question. We will discuss how to answer the question. For another point, point 6.5, a judgment of credibility of thought skillfully. And another next point, 6.5.1, some intelligent example. Since so much of what we learn is learn from another people, another activity which aim to improve our critical thinking to deal with the question about who wants to believe. And I have two examples. The example one, you are considering the biases second-hand car, but since you know little about car, you have to employ expert mechanic who is not acquainted and no connection with the present owner to check the vehicle over. And he said the car is in good condition and should be good by, and should you believe in him? Why and why not? Another example, there is a theory which I state that there are human beings living in the remote part of Africa who have several horns on their back. Another, some dinosaurs did millions of years ago, and the article shows to say we are in Africa, these people living it because we want to protect them from the outside world. And what breed should you attack in article Y? Uh, another point, the discussion example of example one. Should you accept the mechanic advice? The first point, what we really want to know whether the car is in good condition of its egg, whether it is for the price. But since we are not expert enough to judge this thing ourselves, we have to get it right. And now the question is, how credible is the mechanic we have asked to advise us? And we cannot be expert that about everything, and we often need to rely on other people tell thing or friend, or you saw reported on TV or heard it on the radio or found it on the internet or textbook. And we learned that from people it's quite important to be clear about whom to believe and what concern. And to another point, or example discussion or example two, should you believe that magazine report about the dinosaur people? And the story is not all credible. There are several reasons to say in this. The claim about human being having bone growing out their back is contrary to all evidence about human being. And another point, the magazine is not very scientific fictional. We should be careful about checking it fact. About a popular magazine, which mainly report extraordinary events which are contrary to most things we know. Given that you are telling a far-fetched story that for being able to verify that this is a matter of reputation. And next one, the article refused to say where the people live in, so it makes it impossible to check the evidence or the story. So there is no credible in it. And the last point, there is no possibility of corroboration. They actually reason enough seriously to doubt the story, the truth of the story. And to the next point, credibility is different from the truth, but it helps us judge what is true. And Know that although we make judgment about credibility in order to help us decide what is true, credibility and truth are different. For example, like Fred, who had a long criminal record of theft and known to be a liar, if found in possession of stolen TV and he denied having stolen the TV, shall we believe him or not? And another example is Mary, well-known expert in like Twitter, a bird watcher, and she identified birds which fly past really past other fly catcher. Because of that, detective fly, it giving her expertise. We have good reason to believe in her. Her credibility is high, though she may fake with mistaken this occasion. And from example one, giving his record another thing being equal, he almost certainly does not deserve to be believed. But his reputation means that his ability is very low and we have no good reason to believe him, though he may be telling the truth on the occasion. And example two, because he may be in fact mistaken the occasion. Two, but because of giving her expertise and have a good reason to believe in her, also her credibility is also high, that nothing we can do about it. And the general point is that we judge someone's credibility on research ground. And of course, we are knowing independently whether what they say is true or false. And we do it as a guide to decide on the truth of what they say. And it's not an infallible guide. The question then is how we can tell what to accept and other people's work, or to extend what we should be willing to rely on their work. Can, though this is often difficult to decide, some uh, principles which can help us, even though they do not guarantee that we make the right judgment. We do often rely on another people test us. This is often entirely reasonable, and it is make a mistake to think. For example, that all appeal authority are philosopher have sometimes suggested, but it is not always safe. So let us now move to thinking about principles we should apply in trying to judge the capability of thought skillfully. Uh, to the last point, to summarize, we explain sometimes to decide whether claim is acceptable or not. They are the question, how certain it is claimed to be, that the context of the claim influence the acceptability, does it require expertise or research to decide, it is widely known and believed, how well does it fit with another belief, and the last one, it is from credible source. And the last question, we lead into internal discussion of probability, but this is a short-like subject that most of the discussion is reserved for the next chapter. And from chapter 2 and 5 deal with the process on understanding reasoning. The remaining chapter deal with evaluating argument, and this chapter 6 we explain how to decide whether reason which are presented in support of conclusion are acceptable. We first distinguish 5 different kinds of claim: factual claim, value judgment, definition, casual explanation, and recommendation. And the point of their different mean they had to be evaluated in different way. We also give you some practice in recognize this different. And I have example from real life. Mr. Zalotso, known as Khmer rock leader between 1925 and 1929, that caused 3 million dead. But after he got captured and sentenced to jail, he that he killed 3 million people. He denied it and said he don't know about it. It under he underling do it, he don't know. And should we believe in him, or he deserve to be believed or not? When the evidence have we have evidence, and he credibility is very low. And thank you for my presentation.